All set? Yeah, I would like to call the meeting in order, and I'd like to call the approval of the roll call first, and then we can move on with the approval of the minutes.
Alderperson Vitale.
Aye, here.
Grisham.
Here.
Reinke. Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
5 present.
Okay, we move on with the approval of the minutes of,
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Second.
all in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We begin first with the item 2020-0411, Sampson's complaints, submit of complaints against Leonard Perrine, 220-222 operator license, bartender sales clerk, renewal application number 8852. So we need Nick here and the applicant just as well.
Is Nick here today?
Yeah, he's here, yeah.
Bob's getting him right now. It's
First one, the summons and complaint. You bet.
Is Perrine available, Nick?
I was just, Nick Serwin for the City Attorney's Office. I was just talking to all three individuals who are here on summons and complaints. Mr. Perrin? Yes. So, Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
on these items, it's going to be item D and then the 3 summons and complaints. Let's just stand right here for a second. Okay. Or if you want to sit down while I'm talking, that's fine too if you're, okay. Effectively, what the process is this is the first date that anybody would be here. They've gotten a summons and complaint to this point. Presumably, that's why they're here. They were all served, and so they should be here at this point. And the process is this is the initial date for anybody to make basically a plea. It would be admit, deny, or conceivably somebody could elect not to enter a plea or plead the 5th, as one would call it. But if that were to happen, the committee could basically take the allegations as true. And so this is that first date. There's no hearings. There's really nothing to do with an evidentiary process. It's just here for those parties to make that entry or that plea. Conceivably, if the committee elects that this isn't appropriate for a summons and complaint any longer, they would like to end that process. You can place it on file today if you think that's appropriate. If upon your review of the summons and complaint, you're no longer, as the committee, want to go forward on that. So those effectively are the options today. Nothing substantially should happen. It's just going to be entering that plea. And if something is denied, it'd be set for a hearing at a future date. If it is admitted, the committee could make a determination or a sentence today if you wanted to, or set it off for another date. Or again, it could be placed on file if the committee doesn't want to go forward. Does anybody have questions on the procedure to that?
I think the procedure, Mrs. Serwin, is properly in place. The question it is, the person, Mr. Leonard Perrin, do you agree with the fact that he did violate the fact of operating West Dallas, that he did cause some problems within the police department and everybody else?
So this is Mr. Perrin here, and so I guess the question is whether you admit or deny in the complaint.
Deny.
All right, so he had stated, I'm not sure if you talked in the mic there, but,
Deny.
all right. So at that point, we would either proceed to a hearing at a future date, or if the committee feels that this isn't something you want to take action on, it can be placed on file. The allegation here is that it was not renewed, and we issued a provisional license based on a potential OWI in 2019.
The consensus of the committee,
I move to have a hearing for Mr. Perrin based on proof of rehabilitation.
Second.
all in favor of the second?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it. Thank
For
you.
clarification on that motion, so what did you mean by the rehabilitation part of that?
Based on factors of habitual offenses, I believe that's why we brought Mr. Perrin in. And
Okay.
we were looking to hear testimony as to rehabilitation,
Okay?
and therefore we should hear that.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Road?
we are just acting on one OWI, correct?
Correct.
That's the only new offense since the last,
Were there prior?
not that I'm aware of, this is OWI first.
Okay, I withdraw my aye vote, if I can.
At this point, I believe it was still 3-4-1.
4-1?
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right, and so, just for the record, I will work with the clerk's office to schedule when that hearing will be, and we'll reach out and provide that information to Mr. Perrin.
Okay. Can I go now?
I believe so, is that it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Sure. So the next one we have is 0499 and Thompson complaints, submitted complaints against Alibi Taverns LLC, Patrick Kosowski, agent for the premise located at 6540 West Grant. DBA, the Alibi 2019-2020 combination of Class B tavern license number 1663. Mr. Serwin.
Thank you. Very briefly to the committee then. So this was, this incident happened during the last makeup of the License and Health Committee. The bartender had a summons and complaint against her first. She didn't show up to fight that, and she was revoked from her bartender's license. My understanding in speaking with the owners of the Alibi is that they also let her go at the time. The committee around that time wanted to speak with the owners. I believe that's where the allegation is in the complaint about the March appearance. I don't know if there's any potential questions or if, it's the same place as we were for Mr. Perrin's. There's admit, deny, or basically no contest plea, unless the committee wants to place it on file.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Alderman Road.
I don't know if I'd want to do any of those three just yet. I'd like this gentleman's side of the story. That was a big deal down there. There was a lot of shooting down there, and you chose not to even, I was on the committee and just trying to bring the other members up to speed. There was a shooting, and the bartender, it was her boyfriend that did all the shooting, and she had a change of clothes for him and everything behind the bar already. There was just a lot going on, and you chose not to even come down to the bar when the police department called you. That just appalls me.
Mr. Chair, if I could, and I'm sorry, and I don't want to stop anybody
Yes.
from speaking, but if we're at the process here in the procedure, that statements that Mr., how do you pronounce your last name? Kozadowski might say could be used against him for the hearing purposes. This isn't sworn testimony, and so I'm just making a record of that. Mr. Kozadowski can elect to proceed however he sees
Okay.
fit. But I would caution the council from, or the committee from, taking his non-statement against him at this point because we're at a legal proceeding at this point.
Okay, then I will move for summons and complaint.
We already have the summons complaint.
Yeah, we have already. done.
Okay, well, move forward with it then.
To a hearing?
To the hearing, yes.
If, well, he has to decide first if he wants to admit or deny. He might want to volunteer some information and say why he wasn't available. It's up to Mr. Kozadowski how he wants to proceed at this point.
Well, I deny, what you just said. The circumstances were that that night, the 29th, was my wedding anniversary. I was out to dinner, and there was no way I could drive, okay? We were out at the bar when I got the phone call. I informed the bartender at that time that we would be more than cooperative the next day, and that's what happened. I came down to the city, got a hold of the West Dallas Police Department, contacted Lori Belly, and we worked with her like for 2 weeks to get this straightened out. We went in, got fingerprinted, we took our DNA, we did everything they asked of us after this incident. The person who did the shooting was not related and was not dating the bartender at that time. They weren't, I don't know who this guy was, he had never been in the bar before. The bartender did hide his clothes behind the bar, okay? And the police saw this on the camera once I gave them access to it. And they moved forward and they found out who it was and I guess charged him. So that's why I wasn't available that day, 29th. And I explained that to him on the phone, too.
It was at, I believe, right after midnight. I believe 12:03 or so was in the reports, and so just so that, again, all allegations at this point, but that's when the timeline would have been initiated when the officers had contact with anybody.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
I
Alderman Stacey.
just want to say, with you telling us that, I commend you for not driving if you were not able to drive. So I think that was a good choice on your
Yeah.
part. So,
And I live up in Cedarburg, so it was like
Yeah.
not happening.
Yes.
The statement by the owner or the agent at this point was to deny, so at this point, it's either to set it for a hearing or place the summons complaint on file.
I make a motion to put it on file.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
So just, so the committee's aware of the ramifications of that, there won't be a hearing, there won't be any repercussions at this point, it's over with.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then we move on to item 0482, Sampson and complaints. In the matter of complaints against Stafford LLC Neal, a Stafford agent for the premise located 1902 South 68th Street, DBA The Drunk Uncle, 2019-2020 combination, Class B Tavern license number 2080. Go ahead, Mr.
Hello. So again, at this point, it would be admit or deny. If there's any statements that the bar owner or agent would want to say, that's up to the agent or owner at this point in time. Depending on what the statement is or what the plea is, for lack of a better term, maybe we have to decide how they want to proceed.
Deny.
Deny it. Any questions from the committee members?
I make a motion, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
According to the record, he was intoxicated and he operated a motor vehicle on October 2nd, 2019. 2018, he had improper display of vehicle registration plates. And again, was operating a motor vehicle while revoked. Then in 2016, he's operating after revocation of his driver's license. Doesn't sound like he's very responsible. And you are the owner of this
I am the owner.
establishment,
I am.
and you don't take responsibility for any of these offenses?
I'm very responsible.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
So those are the allegations at this point, and so I would caution any committee member from prejudging. Basically, those are what the city is alleging took place, or those are the alleged convictions that may or may not eventually be part of that hearing. And so that's only one side of the case at this point. Mr. Stefik might have information that he would want to present at a hearing, and so he gets the chance right now to admit or deny, and it's up to him if he wants to answer your questions prior to sworn testimony or prior to a hearing. But really, the only thing he has to do at this point is admit or deny.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I move to make a motion to bring Mr. Stefik to a hearing based on habitual offenses.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
All right, and then we'll schedule that with the clerk's office, and I'll be in contact with you, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. You ready, Nick?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could you please go back to the item before this one, the police report involving the alibi? I'm guessing you wanted to place it on file, but there wasn't a
Yes.
specific motion for that.
I make a motion that we place it on file.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
Thank you.
So now we move on to, excuse me, the Police Department, 2020, 39, 039, 2020-21, Class B tyrant license application, instrumental music license application at the dance hall, license number 2806 of Timber Events, LLC, Christina M. Timber, agent, DBA, the Gage 1139 South 70th. Non-existing or new non-existing location. Any questions? Go ahead, come in. Okay, Nick, you have anything on records for her? Nothing?
I don't have any information about this one. I can look into it right now.
Yes, go ahead.
And who are you?
Christina Timber.
Okay. Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
I don't have much interactions with applications prior to them coming to this point. Do you have any specific questions, or do you want me to look over the application generally for appropriateness, or what would you
No, I
like?
think I'll be fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes, go ahead,
question.
other
This
person.
is a new non-existing location, which I'm assuming, is this the events building that is being erected on,
Yes.
in the yards?
Well, it is erected, it's just being redone inside.
Okay, all right. I move to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
stopping in. Then we move on, the next item, 2020-040, 2020-2022 operator license, bartender sales and clerk application for Shayla M. Dams. Is Shayla here? Well, if she's not here, what's the, we should extend the time for the next license and health, or?
Mr.
deny?
Chair?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. So she was already denied a license. This was her opportunity to come back and present competent evidence of rehabilitation. If she isn't here, she's not presenting any evidence. My advice to the committee would let it remain as denied.
And denied, of course.
I
Do we
a
need to make a
motion-
motion for that?
Yeah, do we need? to make
I don't
a-
believe so, because it's already been
Okay.
denied.
Okay,
All right. No,
no.
we don't need a motion, Rosalie.
Do we need to do a motion to file, put it on file then?
No, for denial.
Nothing.
The motion is for denial.
Yeah, but it's already been denied.
For
I'm
denial,
look- uh,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
do we ever give them a second chance for,
Well, we do that right now, and she didn't show up.
It's up to the or the committee.
I mean, whatever you guys determine, if we should let it wait, or just move on, move forward.
If there's been, Mr. Chair, if there's been no correspondence and the party is not here, I believe that we should just leave it as is. It's a denial.
I
Rebecca?
second that.
Rebecca, do you know if, so I don't want to place this on file if there's already been previous action on it, and have it disappear like that. Is it registered with the clerk's office as denied currently? As in, if the committee doesn't
I
take
think
action?
it's pending, they're calling it what, the soft denial?
Okay, so
Well,
then,
Probably,
then a motion for
denying
denial
it.
might be appropriate then.
Then I'll remove my motion for putting it on file and make a motion for denial.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Thank you, sorry for the
Opposed?
misinformation.
The I have it. That's the emotion, Alderperson Rosalie, for denial.
Right. That-
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, is that motion based on the person not being here or
Not being here
on
and
the police
And
report?
based in his, her records,
Yeah.
just as well.
Based on non-appearance and her record.
And on appearance, just as well. So we have a second?
Yep,
We
All in favors?
we already did that.
we already did that.
We did that, so opposed, the ayes have it, sorry about that. So we move to the next one. 2020-051, Police Department report regarding taverns violation call for service for the month of June 2020. I believe we can place that on file, so I need an motion.
Motion to
If
place on
anybody has any
file?
question, I mean,
I don't have any questions.
so we need a motion to place on file.
Mr. Chair, I just made a motion to place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Then we're going to 2020-0420, review license applicant background check for consideration and possible approval or denial. So we have a list here. So Nick, there's any back checking?
Sure, I can, Mr.
Sure.
Chair, I can go through those names if you'd like, and the committee can make a decision on how they see fit. I'll start in the order of, that's on our list. So Mr. Barnes is a renewal license. So to, again, remind the committee, there would have to be a hearing to deny this. The only violation, new violation to report is a secondhand dealer permit violation. My general recollection of that, seeing at Muni Court, was it was a NUPERS, meaning secondhand dealers have to report their purchases through a application or like a website that police can check. There was some issue with how that was being reported. It was brought to his attention, I believe it was fixed, and it was a guy who was selling stuff that he stole from his family to this dealer. That's the only new violation. It's whether or not you want to have a potential summons and complaint for that.
Because of the welfare of the business, I believe we can probably have something and complaints against this applicant, you know, based on the,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
what company was this with?
I'll have to look at the application. I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh.
I can find that, though.
So what's the wishes of the committee members to holding until Nick find out? I know he will in a few minutes.
Mr. Chair, if
Yeah.
I may. Nick, this was the only violation that this business had, and it was corrected, you stated?
Yes.
This was the only violation that I'm aware of, correct. The only violation that was reported to me from the police department and the clerk's office was just this local citation, yes.
Okay. I move to approve.
Second.
I don't have the address or the location. I'm not
That's
sure.
fine,
if
it's just a curiosity thing. Sure.
Yeah.
So we have a motion of second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it. So we go ahead
All
with
right.
the next one.
Lisa Cornoyer is an application. Do it. A renewal application for an operator's license. The only new thing reported, there's no DOT charges, no works report charges reported. There was a citation for disorderly conduct in 2009.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The aye have it. We move to the next one, Mr.
Jimmy
Bader,
Barr,
Barr.
sorry, I'm not in the same order as that. So this is a new license, and so on the new license, when I review these, anything that potentially substantially relates, it goes to the council or the committee. So Jamie Barr is a new operator's license, currently has a valid driver's license. There are 3 OWIs, 1999, 2000, 2001, and a speeding in a construction zone from 2016. No local violations, and a 1994 conviction for a battery misdemeanor, and a 2000. Well, the OWIs that are reflected on there are the same OWIs I already discussed.
So what's the consensus of the
Chair?
member? Go ahead.
Did I hear 3?
3 OWIs prior to, or the last one was in 2001.
Move for denial based on on the habituality of person.
Habitual offender.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it.
And just for clarification, Mr. Chair, so the practical application of that is that she will be given she or he or Jamie, I'm sure, will be given an opportunity to present competent evidence of rehabilitation at a future date.
Very good.
All right, Balistreri, a new operator's license. There are no local, or no DOT, no local. There was a 2012 dismissed and read in possession of a legal prescription, and that was read into the disorderly conduct 2012 conviction. No other
Any-
convictions.
Any question from the members?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it. So we will move on with the next one, Mr. Benjamin.
Haley Benjamin is a new operator's license, valid driver's license. Has a 2019 citation for operating while registration is suspended. No local violations, no works reports violations, no CCAP violations.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it. So move on to the next one.
Thank you. Robert Gentry is a new operator's license, valid. He's got no DOT reports, no local reports, has a 2002 misdemeanor violation of a domestic abuse order.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
The eye have it. So move on with Jasinski.
Lori Jasinski is a new operator. She's currently revoked. She has a 1994 implied consent, great bodily harm conviction, and a 2001 OWI. Those would both count as OWIs, based on my experience. No local violations, no works reports violations, oddly enough, and no CCAP violations, oddly enough.
Move to approve.
Second? Any seconds?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
he has 2 OWIs?
2 OWIs, the most recent one being 2001.
What year were they, sir?
1994 and 2001.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
There was a move to approve and a second.
Okay, all in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
Next is Mr. Nichols. Oopsies. 1 second, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm on it. Good. A new operator's license. He is currently suspended. The DOT reports the following tickets. 2016, no insurance. 2016, no or improper lights. 2017, operating while suspended. 2017, no insurance. 17, license not in person. 18, operate while suspended. 18, operate while suspended. 18, operate while suspended. And no insurance. 19, operate while suspended. There's nothing to consider currently for the local. There's a 2015 battery citation. Other issues can't be considered, and CCAP can't be considered at this time.
Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair, Nick, these offenses sound like they're just a lack of payment for renewing his driver's license. I don't see any substantial charges beyond that, such as OWI or a reason that he's driving without a license or after a suspension.
I don't have any.
There's no background to that?
I don't have any information as to why he's suspended or what is causing the suspension, if it's failure to pay or points. I'm not sure.
Okay, now I have another question outside of the box, being that it's not listed. Could this be something that, say, you didn't pay your child support, for example, you could lose your license over?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Yeah, if you don't pay child support, it's not our job, really.
Right, I'm just asking the reasoning behind possibly the habitual suspension of license, you know, as showing responsibility or not. So with that being said, I would look at moving to approval. If he needs to take a cab to get to work, he can do so.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
Next is Piotrowski.
Cassandra?
New operator's license, suspended driver's license, OWI in 2012 and 2013, separate offenses. 17 speeding, 2020 obstructing traffic, 2020 failure to control vehicle, no insurance, and 2020 failure to keep vehicle under control. No other local, and then the Works report reflects that 2012 OWI and 2013 OWI. The 2012 OWI must have also had a possession of THC ticket pending along with it. CCAP shows some parking tickets.
Move to deny.
Second.
All in favor of denial?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Go to the next one.
Sorry, I'm just keeping notes real quick. All right,
Aye.
next one was
Brian Mitchell.
prize. New operator's license valid. Only violation that's reported is a 1999 OWI.
Any questions from the committee members? Only one.
Did you say 1999 OWI?
Correct.
Oh, and there's nothing been ever since?
Not that I'm aware of, not that was reported from the police department or to the clerk's office.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We move on to the next one.
If I can just have a moment on the next one,
Yes.
I remember there's a communication on that one. One moment.
Sure.
So for Shamshir Randhawa, it's a new operator's license. The person is valid. Is reported in 1989 OWI. I have no other records or violations reported. I am showing, and the clerk's office notified me in advance that in 2014 the application was denied. For the life of me, that's what I was looking into. I'm not sure why it was denied at that point. I don't know of any record or things that would happen in that time or that was reported to me for that denial, so I'm just making that information known.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So we move on with the Roman.
You, Roman is a new operator's license, valid driver's license, 2016 speeding, 2016 OWI, 2017 signal violation, 2019 speeding. There are some criminal convictions, including a 1998 robbery, a 2005 intimidate witness, 2005 resisting or obstructing, and a 2016 OWI, same one as reported previously. CCAP reports the same convictions.
Questions from the committees for denial or approval?
I'm sorry, when was the last conviction?
Last criminal conviction was 2005, and then there's an OWI in 2016. My understanding that's a civil ticket, OWI first.
Okay.
So if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If somebody has a conviction record, something along those lines, and they were denied, one of the things they could do or they would be able to do is come back and show competent evidence of rehabilitation. One of those things that is enumerated in the statutes as competent evidence of rehabilitation is successfully completing probation. I looked into that initially, and that 2005 conviction was revoked off of probation based on the CCAP record.
So we would have him in, Mr. Chair, I'm
Yes.
sorry. We would have him in to determine whether he's rehabilitated at this point?
If if the committee denies the license, then yes, he would get a chance to come in and show competent evidence of rehabilitation, whatever that may be.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Nick, when you say that he was revoked, that means that he completed or he did not complete his probation?
He did not successfully complete probation. He was put back into custody.
Okay, move to deny.
Second.
All in favors of denial?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
Sawyer,
Sawyer Danielle?
new operator's license, 1989 OWI is the only thing reported.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All
Second.
in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it.
And then Styler, new operator's license valid, 2010 OWI is the only offense reported.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Nick, is
Oh,
there an error in the spelling of Mr. Styler's name? Is it Steyer by chance?
I have it in my license review as Steyer, and then on the report it's Styler, or on the agenda it's Styler. I'm not sure which one is
Okay.
accurate. I'm confident that the records check was correctly done by the departments.
Okay.
if
Because
that's the question.
I asked because I know this person by the name of Brian Steyer, not Styler. So I just wanted to be sure.
I believe it would have been, I believe the agenda is probably more correct than my quick version of trying to type
Okay.
it out.
Any more questions from any committee members? So we need the motion to approve?
Move
or
to
deny?
approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it. So we conclude the portion of the list of applicants. So we move on with the next item, 0028, ordinance to ban conversion therapy involving children.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead, Alderperson.
May we hold the vote on conversion ban until we hear resolution and ban?
Yeah, whatever the committee wishes to do, if you want to just,
Is that acceptable?
yeah, I think we could do that. Is that
Mr.
correct?
Chair?
Yes.
The Board of Health does not meet until August 27th. I move we hold this. We wanted to get the opinion and the recommendation of the Board of Health, if you recall.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll second it.
All in favors of holding it?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
For more discussion, if we're looking at this as combined, are we looking to hold both the resolution and the ordinance ban? Or are we looking to just take that item and hold over as we did not hear from health?
Well, whatever the wishes, if you guys want to go their route, I believe it's well appropriate.
Well,
I think we should keep them separate.
Yes.
I asked the members of the committee to hold it until the regular committee meeting at 7 p.m. this evening, just so we could hear testimony from the members of the public.
No, I believe that we already, Alderman Tenorio, we did schedule a meeting for 5:30, so I don't think, I believe I had three email from two young ladies and a gentleman, which is here, David. So, and I request them, if they wish to speak, I did give them 5 minutes. So I did promise them to be here at 5:30, you know. So, but if they're not here, you know, we can just make it easy for 3 or 4 additional people. I mean, if we have a time set, well, and to me, I mean, everybody else, we schedule a meeting 5:30. Maybe the older person had other commitments, but they're here.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and I guess this is just more of a question of parliamentary procedure, and as we're new alders, if our agenda changes and we look to hold something over, or as you requested, Alderman Tenario, is that something that's supposed to be listed on the agenda prior to us actually meeting? Because I did get the email maybe an hour preceding the meeting tonight, asking us to hold it over. And as it stands, based on Alderwoman Ranke's proposal to hold this over period till we hear back from health, I think that in like gives the opportunity for anyone who wants to provide testimony to do that at a later date as well. However, I am willing to hear from anyone here who took the time to come as to the resolution and/or ban, if that is within acceptance of every other committee member. But in fairness, I do believe that we did ask and hold over for the purpose of health to come back. And if we don't have health as a representative here, and you had not had that meeting, I don't think in fairness we can give a vote to a ban that we asked for more information on. But as I said, I would welcome any testimony from anyone here.
Yeah, I do agree, all the person appreciation, really. I mean, we need more input, from the health commissioner in reference of the, the amount of cases, that have been occurring in West Dallas. I mean, like I said, there is so many non-answered questions, that I think the council should be fully aware, if or not approve such a delegate issue, really. And I feel this way, it's more of a medical issue, and then it should be more of a statewide, not just by, say, municipalities, to control something like that. That's a very important issue. It's nothing that just locally. Someone from, per se, West Dallas, well, they can go to West Milwaukee. They can go to South Milwaukee, per se, if they wish to. The kids' concern that they have, about their lives, So that's why, to me, it's very, very touchy situation, really,
Mr.
for a
Chair.
municipality by itself to make some changes or approve something that we're not really fully aware, really. Go ahead.
Was that you, Rosalie?
Rosalie, you have a
Did somebody
question?
say something?
I did.
Oh, you did, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that if there's people here, you might want to hear from them now. If there are people that come at 7, they could talk at the citizen participation
Right.
portion. And I'm not clear, are you holding this for the Board of Health? Or are
Yes.
you holding this
Yes,
for
that's
the
basically, that's what.
report from the Health Commissioner?
That's what Alderman
The Board of
Oh.
Health?
suggested.
Mr. Chair,
So
if,
that's what the council approved.
Mr. Chair, I believe we actually asked the Board of Health to meet on this. I know that I had personal discussions with Bob from the Health Department, and I can't speak for Bob. I was hoping to hear from Bob here at this meeting as well as to his position and the position of the city. He said he was going to do a little bit more research into the matter. So that's something that I was expecting to hear from him at this meeting as well. Per our discussion, I can say that he had the same statement as the American Pediatrics Association, the Psychiatric Associations, denouncing a blanket statement of a resolution against the practices of conversion therapy, as it's not an effective treatment. And those were the words that I heard from him as he recited them from basically the blanket statement that is not only put in the ordinance that you're proposing, but also the resolution that is proposed for this evening as well. I guess where the logistics come into play, Alderman Tenario, is the fact that we're looking for the guidance as to where this is happening in West Dallas. If there's data, I've done an immense amount of research myself on this. We've had some personal conversations. But that's also, I also, like I said, I commend those that have come tonight. I do want to hear from you. I've had engaging conversations on this topic, but I think that I don't want it to get lost in translation here. It's too big of a topic to just say, okay, we're going to put a ban and it's $50 if you are abusing these children. It makes no sense to me on that end. So I really like to have better discussion. I'd like to have some data. I'd like to see if this is happening in our city, that we are proactive, that we are not just activists looking for 50 states with 50 bills to ban this, that there has some teeth and some meaning behind it. So with that being said, I'm not going to take up any more time. I would like to hear from those that are here, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, all the
Mr. Chair.
person, Richmond, I do agree with you in that respect, really. I think we need to be more educated. I'm not really, I don't know anything about something like that, To me, to approve something which, put a community in places where I mean, I want to know what I'm voting for if it comes to that level, really. So but I'll give you a chance to speak, Alderman Norio.
To address some of the points that I've heard, like the reality is the state government won't even hold hearings on conversion therapy bans. So that's why I feel like it's so important that as a city, we are proactive and that we are leaders on this issue. And the truth about conversion therapy is that parents don't advertise that they take their kids to conversion therapy. A lot of this is underground. We don't have all the data about how this occurs in the city of West Dallas. Like, we all agree that conversion therapy is bad. And I support the resolution condemning conversion therapy, but I don't think it goes far enough. Like, what are the drawbacks? I guess my question is, like, what are the drawbacks to passing an ordinance and passing like a firm ban on conversion therapy here in West Dallas? I sponsored this 2 months ago, and we've had time to do research on this. So
Alderman Tenario, in all due respect, exactly what you just said, as to the point that a lot of this is done underground. My research has really shown that a lot of this is Christian-based, religious camps, encampments, boarding schools, things like that. Any reputable medical profession is denouncing this. Insurances don't cover it. So we're talking about reparative therapies, we're talking about conversion therapies, that if you're saying exactly what you just said to me, it's underground, then how is it attainable for us to enforce?
because if we have an ordinance, a child could report it, whereas right now, a child cannot report conversion therapy to any official in West Dallas.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman.
most children, if they're getting abused, report it to their teachers or somebody at school. Right now, they're not in school. We may not even get these kids back in school, so how's it gonna get reported then?
They can still report it to their teacher remotely, and the teacher can refer it to the city of West Dallas, and it can be enforced that way.
If I may,
Yes, Alderman.
would that fall under the category of child abuse as well then? Because there are recorded, documented occurrences of conversion therapy where actually that I researched that 2 or 3 encampments were shut down where these so-called therapists, because they weren't actually certified therapists, it was through their church, that were charged with child abuse and were sent to prison. So I'm kind of looking at what guidelines do we have to follow? Does this fall under child abuse? How is this ban going to protect children? Because that's our goal, if we're all on the same page with this. And taking it one step further, that it's tangible, that we can actually do something about it. It's not a feel-good, I'm just putting the ordinance out there to pass it. That if this is indeed happening, we have a responsibility as a city to make sure that that doesn't happen. I hope this makes sense to you in what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we can revisit the language of the ordinance, because I do personally believe that conversion therapy is child abuse, and I think most of you would agree that it is child abuse. So if that's how it should be treated in the language of the ordinance, I'd support that.
Well, and I believe the language of anything like that, if it's an ordinance, should change, because if children are being impacted and affected, and suicide is part of this, and all these other lifelong detrimental things happen as a result of these therapies, a $50 fine is like throwing Jell-O at the wall. It is not even close to being reasonable. It should be prosecuted by law. And that's where I'm conflicted, where we come in as a local level government. And I understand the objective wholeheartedly, that we're looking to gain momentum to get the state to do what probably is the right thing to do and ban this statewide. But you're taking up a lot of smaller municipalities with the councils passing the ban to gain that momentum. And it really isn't giving any teeth to what you really want is a statewide ban, if that makes sense too. And based on my research, based on those that I've spoken with, and that's in the LGBTQ community, that's really the big goal. So I don't mind having further discussion. Like I said, I want to hear from, you know, the members in the audience to kind of enlighten maybe other members who aren't as well educated on this subject, because I did do a tremendous amount of homework, but I also, and I have to, in fairness to all the other council members, I expected you, as this is your ordinance, to come forward with that for me. And I've taken a lot of time and done more than due diligence to the topic.
Yeah,
So-
other person, Christian, I appreciate really all the points, a lot of valid points you addressed tonight. But Alderman Tenori, I would like to ask you, before we, in many cases within our city here, before we sponsor or say an ordinance, it could be parking restrictions. Well, first of all, we know the reasons exactly what we're doing, what we're sponsoring. Do you have, for any chance, sorry that I ask you, a percentage of the last 6 months, the incurrence that some of the parents took the children to a therapist in regard to conversion therapy, So that's the thing. What's the percentage? We talk something big here. We're not talking about something we just passed because for the sake of approving it. Because like I said earlier, if somebody goes to New Berlin or South Milwaukee or West Milwaukee, they could have that done too. They could go to another municipalities. And to me, what are we doing here, by approving just in one? Maybe there's a few more throughout Wisconsin, I'm sure there is a few. But what their gain is, to me, it should be more of a statewide ruling, not just something locally, It should be some people that they should really study on it and know what the heck we're doing here, So that's the question that I ask. What's the percentage we have in West Dallas, I hate to do that, but we need some evidence, concrete evidence. What's the percentage that we have in West Dallas in the last six months? I'm not going to talk beyond that. I'm talking about the last 6 months.
Now, as I said earlier, the data on this is difficult to track, but I don't think that should stop us from enacting an ordinance to ban
Yeah.
this. I believe we should be proactive on this, and I do think that this sends a strong message to our leaders at the state level, saying, hey, local municipalities want this, West Dallas wants this, we're the second biggest city in the county, we should be doing something about this at the state level.
I do understand your expressions, really, and I appreciate that. But the fact is that if we don't have a sound, solid resolution for us to move forward with something, we just do it for the sake of doing it. But, because we're assuming that happens, a percentage, maybe one family, maybe or two of them, they've done this, which to me is not right, I'm not in favor of that, I want you to know that. But just the idea is, what's really the percentage that we have to sponsor something like this, which to me, it's more of, and I understand the state, they're not doing anything about it, but in time, if all the community may be lobbying or something, people there, activists in regard that area that you want to follow, well, then maybe some state legislators or state senators would kind of think about it, say, maybe I could work on something like that, But it should be more of a statewide issue, just like with the mask mandate. Milwaukee did it, then some community did it, but it has to be done statewide, like Governor Evers did. It's a statewide mandate, and people have to kind of follow that, I hope, because it's for the welfare of every one of us.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just going to use an example of something that I brought up last year that was a local issue, and I put the ordinance in place to demand that the Milwaukee County Court System and I remember it was police department, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was demanding that we be harsher on crime, okay? It went through a number of advisory committee meetings, and a former alderman throws in, I used the word demand, and they said that was too harsh. After my research with state representatives and state senators, demand is the word to use, not strongly urge. When they see something that says strongly urge, they take it and they file it in their garbage can. Gets no ground. I was then told, in order to get something done, I need to take it to the state level. So I'm currently working with 3 state reps and a state senator to have municipalities and the state come out and make certain crimes harder offenses and incarcerations. It takes a while to do that, but I think that's the direction you need to go with an ordinance instead of trying to do it here in a local, because it doesn't get any ground on a local level, just like they didn't get my harsher on crime. And to me, this is a crime, and I think it should be at a state level as well, just like Alderman Vitale was talking about. But I still do want to hear from people who are here.
Mr. Chair, in
Yes.
light of time, can we move forward and hear from our members of the audience, please?
Is anybody here that Jessica or Shelley Gregory or? Yes.
Thank you.
David, sure,
Thank you
go
very
ahead.
much. And thank you to the committee members. I had prepared some comments. I have been watching your hearings with interest, and I think I'll probably go off a little bit stray from my prepared comments to try to address some of the issues that I hear you speaking about tonight, which I also heard in prior meetings of the council. Just to tell you who I am, I'm a non-practicing attorney licensed in California. I came home to Wisconsin 4 years ago. I work at an organization called Forge. We support transgender and gender non-conforming people across the country. We're funded to provide consultation to service providers to enhance their capacity to work with trans people, and we support transgender people here in the Milwaukee area. I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to work with a number of the municipalities in southeastern Wisconsin that have adopted conversion therapy bans. And my interest in being here tonight is that I work with individuals who are identified as transgender or as gender nonconforming who either reside or work in the city of West Allis. And so we certainly have some interest in helping provide information about conversion therapy and the ways in which it can be regulated here in West Allis. I submitted written comments at the beginning of your process a couple of months ago. And as I said, I'll try to just address what I hear you all talking about tonight. As Alder Tenorio has said, and as I know, I believe it's Alder Grisham, I heard you talk previously about your efforts to find objective data regarding the prevalence of this practice in the city or probably anywhere. And you consulted my friend and colleague Barb Farrar at the LGBT Community Center in Racine, and I think she rightly told you that you're probably going to have a hard time finding any quantitative data that demonstrates to you the prevalence of this practice in Wisconsin. We have estimates about the prevalence of the practice as it occurs throughout the country from some very well-regarded think tanks that work on LGBTQ policy issues, the Williams Institute in particular from the University of California, Los Angeles. Now, what that means for municipalities like yours and bodies like yours who are considering these bans, there certainly is some challenge. I don't think you're going to find the quantitative data that you're looking for. What we can do is think about the statistics. We know that this practice is occurring statistically. And I know anecdotally that it occurs, certainly in the state of Wisconsin and certainly in southeastern Wisconsin and certainly in the greater Milwaukee area. And I know that from my direct support, my peer support to transgender individuals who come to my organization for help. What we hear about these practices is very much the kind of thing that Alder Tenorio just said, unfortunately, that these practices often do happen in a rather underground fashion, for lack of a better word. Parents sometimes send their children to, you mentioned conversion camps, or to counselors, therapists, licensed mental health practitioners who do engage in conversion efforts. They may do that intentionally, and they may do that inadvertently as well. Parents are part of the challenge here as well. And you're right to identify this as a very complex issue. Whether the state or the Department of Child and Family Services considers conversion therapy a form of child abuse, I cannot answer that question. My guess is probably not, because there is no law statewide prohibiting the practice. And on that account, I certainly appreciate the argument, and I agree that the state should be regulating this. I don't think that means that a municipality cannot also regulate this practice within its own borders. Our state legislature has been unwilling to even allow there to be a hearing about conversion therapy bans that have been introduced. And I will say, and I don't say this lightly, I think there is ideological opposition to a conversion therapy ban in our state legislature based on my observations and the observation of other advocates. We see an ideological opposition based primarily on a concept of religious freedom. I think what is overlooked in that argument is that the state ban, all of the municipal bans that have been enacted in Wisconsin, and that's 10 cities and 1 school district, read exactly like the ordinance that has been introduced here. And if you look at the language, what you see is that it's rather narrowly tailored. So it first applies only to children, minors under the age of 18, and it applies to fee-for-service counseling and therapy, which is most likely going to exclude religious practitioners who are offering conversion therapy as part of pastoral counseling or pastoral care. So those two provisions take away a lot of the constitutional sort of argument in opposition to these bans, that they're infringing on free speech rights or that they're infringing on free exercise of religion. Because what you're targeting is a regulated profession. I will also say that our licensing board...
Excuse me, we have a minute, okay? Half a minute.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll finish up and say that our licensing board at the state level is in the process of trying to declare conversion therapy an unethical practice for the 3 types of counselors and therapists it licenses, and that's marriage and family therapists, licensed professional counselors, and licensed clinical social workers. They have proposed amending their ethics rules to declare this an unethical practice. They have been stopped by a committee of the legislature. You may know that the legislature essentially needs to approve administrative rules at the state level, and so that ideological opposition has played into that as well. And so I will leave that. I will leave it here. I would certainly say that an ordinance that bears the force of law behind it, I think sends a much stronger message, and I think there's a deterrent message and a deterrent purpose here as well in the regulation that you're considering, so versus a resolution. So thank you very much for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or I'd also be happy to work with the council or the city's Board of Health if we can be of any use.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Would the clerk like my card for the record? May I?
So, Jessica? Katzenmeyer, right?
Close enough. Katzenmeyer, to be correct.
Meyer, yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to speak, and the rest of the alders here on the committee, too. And I appreciate your comments on this and bringing this to a discussion, because it is a very complex issue that does need to be talked about. So I am openly transgender myself, and then back in the early 90s, I have been a victim of this myself as well, too. And it's hard for me to still even talk about it today because of the psychological impacts that it has on you, especially when it happened to me as a child. And I can tell you, if this is still happening in the city, and including the fact that it targets children, it has that psychological impact on the children as well, and it lasts for a lifetime. And so while a resolution I do believe is good, and I would support a resolution, I do think that the resolution is just a statement. It doesn't have any underlying actions like a ban would have. So that's why I do believe that a ban would be the most effective in preventing this from the future, or happening in the future. I think that we need to protect the children in the city and having that ban in place so that, you know, if we had a resolution, I don't want to be waiting for this to happen, and then it happens, is what I'm saying. So also, I want to say too that one of the city's core values is quality of life. I think by having bans and ordinances like this that helps protect the LGBTQ community, helps for people like myself feel comfortable living here, helps us to feel more welcome, it helps us to feel more inclusive. And I believe that does help our quality of life here in West Dallas. So thank you very much for allowing me for a few minutes
Thank
to
you,
speak.
Shelley.
Very good.
We have, what's the name? Dave? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I just have a brief statement. So being out as a member of the LGBT community is not easy. There are dangers, pitfalls everywhere, simply because a person wishes to live as their true self and not to hide away. This becomes even more problematic when we are talking about children, since that is what the ban is addressing, 18 and under. Young people go through conversion therapy and other forms of abuse because their parents and their families feel that there's something wrong with them. Because of this, 40% of all homeless youth in the country are members of the LGBT community. And because of the rejection they've gone through, 60% of these have had at least one attempted suicide. Thank God they're not successful. Not all of them, anyways. Now, I'm not privy to the discussions behind the scenes of the Common Council on the resolution versus the ban, and what I hope for, as with all business before our alderpersons, is that they are open conversations supported by evidence and rational discussions, and I know you are looking for more evidence as you speak. Now, I do not disagree with the resolution. I think the resolution is a wonderful thing. I just simply do not believe that it is enough. I view it more as incrementalism. Now, I understand that there are members of the council waiting to hear about the instances of conversion therapy in West Dallas. And I understand wanting that data, but for me personally, the data is not directly relevant to this discussion. Now, for myself, I am an out and proud member of the LGBTQ plus community, and I know people that have been through conversion therapy, and it has scarred them for life. There have been suicide attempts. There's been an inability to be in a romantic relationship or even a friendship with someone of the same gender because of the overwhelming feelings of grief and of shame. It has led to drugs and alcoholism, and if we can prevent even one more child from going through what my friends have gone through, then we will reassert our moral authority and are truly making a difference in our community. Now, being out is hard, even for those of us with relatively positive stories like myself. But even the ones who've had an easy time of it have encountered dismissal, anger, misinterpretation of who we are, and there's so much in the world already telling us not to be who we are, and conversion therapy is taking that to a very unfortunate extreme. So things like this, we need to bring them out into the light. The scary things, the dark things need to be in the light. And I am absolutely in favor of the resolution as a stepping stone to what can come next. So I thank you for your time and attention, and I encourage you to push forward with the conversion therapy ban, either at the next meeting once you've received your information, or as the next step after a resolution. Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
David.
So, Alderperson Reinke, you mentioned there will be a meeting in August 24 for the Health Department?
The the Board of Health will be meeting August 27th.
27, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if
Yeah.
I may, when is our next Common Council meeting? September 1st, okay.
September
I'm-
1st for the next council meeting. yes.
I want to address those that have spoken this evening first, and thank you so very much for coming. I appreciate hearing your voice and receiving that knowledge on conversion therapy. At this time, I believe it would be appropriate, Alderman Tenario, that we look at putting forth that ban to be heard at our next Common Council meeting, if that's acceptable, and I'd be willing to work with you on that as well. So I would make a motion to hold this over until our September 1st meeting. until we can hear back from the Board of Health.
A second?
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Is anything else at this time
We have
coming?
the resolution now.
Yes.
Now we have to do the resolution.
The resolution?
And Mr.
yes.
Chair, if I may, I'd like to speak to this
Go ahead.
because I know that, I believe it's Alderman Stefanski and President Lysak actually put this forward as their resolution. And when I heard of it, I wanted to be part of it. And reason being is I thought at our last Common Council meeting, when Alderman Tenorio put forth the ordinance, that if it were a resolution, we could have at least had that conversation started back then. And putting forth this resolution for me is that strong statement, as Mr. Kay so eloquently stated, that we are going to have these discussions. There is support in our community for the LGBTQ community and inclusiveness. But what we need to look at as the ban needs to be discussed a little bit more. So I hope that I have my fellow committee members' support in this resolution. I believe it's something that we should support, not only for the children, however, to denounce and get these conversations going. And that's it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
The motion is opposing it.
No, it's not
Approving.
opposing it.
Approving it, right?
It's to approve the resolution in
Resolution.
opposition
Okay.
to conversion therapy.
Okay.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye has it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion, we adjourn the License and Health Committee meeting.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The eye have it. Thank you, everyone.
What time are we at?